Hi, friends. I'm Michael James Wong, and I am the lead teacher on our Just Breathe Level 1 course. I'm joined here by Dan Morgan, who is our breath science expert and mentor for the training. Hey, Dan.
Hey, how you doing?
So what this video is about is a little introduction to the Just Breathe course itself, why you should do the course, topics we cover in the course, and just to give you a little bit more of a conversational understanding of what we do in the course and the different components of the course itself. Now, to give you a little understanding of the level 1 training, it's a course that's designed in 3 sections where we look at breathwork fundamentals, we look at meditation modalities, and then we bring it together with different sequences, methods, and ways to integrate that in. We look at principles of practice, how to guide group practices, individual practices, and how to facilitate breath assessments through the process of working with people on a very need-based approach. Now, I thought I'd start and ask you, Dan, before obviously we dive too much into the course content itself, maybe you could share just a little bit about what your role in the course is, what you bring to the training, and kind of what you're going to be focusing on with anyone who joins the course.
Yeah, absolutely. More than happy to do so. So I'm Dan, and I'm one of the mentors in the wider Just Breathe team. And my particular area of specialism is breathwork and breath science. So my role throughout your training is to help you really deeply understand the intricacies of breathwork, and how powerful it can be as a tool and the impact that it can have system-wide, not only for you personally, but everyone that you share it with.
And so for you, just individually, like, why do you love breathwork? How did you get into it? What is it that makes it interesting for you just personally?
So I'm actually an asthmatic, and I had severe asthma as a child. So breathing was always kind of like a point of challenge for me, just because of my condition. Uh, so early on, I had to learn how to utilize my breath to calm myself, for instance, in an asthma attack, or how to get better use of my lungs. And that just led me into like a lifelong exploration of that, because it was something that was challenging for me. And then I discovered the world of breath work, and not only how that could kind of positively impact my experience physically, but also mentally and emotionally. Meditation was also something that I utilized throughout my life to support me with stress and anxiety. And then the more I started to dig into breath work, I started to see how equally powerful that could also be for regulating our state.
I mean, what I really love about these practices, and for me, it's been my journey of really understanding how the breath itself, meditation, and deep rest have been such an integrative and intertwined practice that has been a huge benefit to my life. And for many of you, that's the whole reason why you're even interested in a course like this or starting our course, is that in some way it's been helpful to you. It's been beneficial to you. It's helped you sleep better. It's helped you find a little focus. It's helped you manage stress or manage a moment, big or small. And in this way, what the focus of the course is really to both support you intellectually, understanding more, understanding nuance, looking at different techniques that can help shift patterns of breath and shift the state that you're in, and to look at meditation practice that can really manage the mind in different states of activity. And through the process of the training, it's really about learning for yourself, learning to how to guide, and really establishing the method of approach that can really integrate breathwork, meditation, and deep rest to be supportive in a need-based way. One of the things that I find really interesting, and Dan, I'm going to ask you again, when we look at breathwork itself, because obviously that's the first section of the course. The first section of the course is breathwork fundamentals. We look at breath science. We look at breathing techniques. We look at systematic techniques to help shift the state, and we understand the whole landscape of what breath work is. I suppose the helpful question for you, Dan, is in that world of breath work, which we talk about has the intersection of the influences or the insights or the traditions of yogic pranayama and breath science understanding, modern physiology and functional breathing. What in that world of breath work would be interesting for people to know at this stage of interest in looking at this Just Breathe course?
Yeah, that's a wonderful question. I think what the Just Breathe course does, as Michael just loosely touched on, is marrying those two worlds. The deeper Eastern tradition is now meeting the more science-backed Western viewpoint or scientific viewpoint in understanding both of those worlds and how they come together. I think that's what's done wonderfully on this course. Also, how we look at various protocols, almost like, to use a cooking analogy here, like a recipe. So as you're going through the process of becoming more competent and confident as a facilitator of these practices, having things immediately to work with that you know are going to help you meet need states and support the people that you work with. So we look at kind of across, I guess, 4 main areas. We look at upregulation, kind of energizing. We look at downregulation, so calming. We look at balancing for focus. And then we look at moving towards deeper rest, a place of relaxation and restoration. So we look at all of the different techniques that support meeting those need states. But then we also dig into some of the science behind why it has that impact on all of the various systems throughout our bodies. So as you just heard, of course, we're looking at all of the different nuances of the breath work and the scientific elements of that. So it might be useful for you to understand, as we dig into this and we look at how the East meets the West and understanding these practices of both breath work and meditation, who might this course be for?
Super. And I think what's interesting when we talk about who this course is for is that this course can suit and support different types of people or different types of people working in different environments. Very honestly and very typically in our Just Breathe course, we have a few different types of people that find their way into the course. You have what I would call wellness experts or specialists already in a different part of the community. So you might have people who are working in fitness, in Pilates, in yoga. You might have people who are teaching disciplines where breathwork and meditation can support that. We're also going to have people who are working in the personal development space. Coaches, leaders, executive trainers, people who are building that awareness that helps support their working models of how they're going to help practices working with individuals in a one-to-one space. The other side of it, which is a big majority of the people that find their way into this course, are going to be medical professionals, whether it's doctors and nurses, people that are bringing these practices to support an integrative approach to holistic well-being or medical support. And as well, it's going to be clinicians like therapists. It's going to be psychologists, people who are looking at using this, again, to support that biopsychosocial model of integration to be able to support people on all levels of both physical, emotional, and mental state of support. There's another few types of people that find their way into the course, people who are working in support services. Whether it's school teachers working with children and youth, whether it's parents just wanting to support their children at home. It's also people working with vulnerable communities, people working in troubled communities, people working in environments where breathwork and meditation is an accessible way to support. And you're also going to find people from a corporate background who are interested for themselves, but also want to bring these practices into the corporate space. Whether you're someone who works with the people and the teams within your organizations, whether you're someone who wants to go in and work in corporate environments to help the people who are dealing with stress, productivity, dealing with overwhelm, overworking, overexhaustion. These elements are really important focuses for a big part of people who are joining the course. As well as those categories of people, there are a lot of people who just generally come for themselves to want to know more, to understand more, to learn more about breathwork and meditation. And this itself, while a teacher training, is also just a thorough training of understanding of building a stronger awareness of breathwork, meditation, and deep rest practices in ways that they can best be supportive for ourselves and in turn, perhaps, to support others. And so building on that, I thought it would be really interesting to talk a little bit about some of the methods or systems or integration techniques that we have. Within Just Breathe, we have things like the Daily 5, the Gentle 10, Nervous System Reset, those types of things which become tools that can be learned and shared. Dan, can you talk to us about breathwork protocols, Nervous System Reset, Daily 5, Gentle 10, and how those are helpful in our models or methods of sharing?
Absolutely, yeah. Of course, covering across the kind of 3 main areas that we explore and learn about in Just Breathe is the breath, the meditation, and the deep rest. What I think is fantastic about the course is there's various tools that we give in each of these areas that are immediately applicable for you. So for those of you that are maybe just starting this journey that feel less competent or confident, you can rest assured that there's tools that you can immediately utilize that are going to really support you in supporting yourself or the people that you work with to meet their needs and wants in a given session. So as Michael mentioned, the daily 5 or the gentle 10, a 5 or 10 step sequence of movement that get people prepared so that they're able to sit comfortably for practice, or various, for instance, breath protocols that will help you to support someone in upregulation, relaxation, downregulation, or balancing. And then I like this word, a smorgasbord of various different meditation techniques so that you can offer a number of different things so that the person that you're working with can find what works for them, or equally for you within your own practice on any given day, knowing that you have lots of options to choose from to best support yourself or someone else.
So what's great about that layer of the learning is that there are these set sequences, protocols, tools that you can use. And then when we build on top of that, we have different methods and approaches to help you learn how to create practices in your own unique way that brings both your creativity and insight into a place of support. So in things like breath work, we have our Just Breathe ABC 1-2-3 methodology, which is going to help you understand how to sequence breath work for need-based or intention-based practices. In things like meditation, we're going to give you a framework for how to guide guided meditations, visualizations, how to put the pieces together for those practices that have a little bit more space for narrative, for creativity, for wisdom. And so while different meditations have different practice approaches and needs, and they approach the mind in a different layer of the intellect, there are certain ones that will have a very set technique, a very solid foundation, and a very necessary approach. And there are ones that have a little bit more space for you to bring in your own personality, your own wisdom, and share it in a way that's relevant to both your approach, your intention, or what the necessary needs are of the environment you're sharing in. And so what I really like about our approach with this material is that it's not just giving you a one size fits all. It's not like this meditation is the one I want you to learn because it's the best. You can have preference. There will be preference. I have preference, Dan has preference. But when you're working with people individually or you're working with people in a group, my personal preference isn't as important as the need of what that person or that group needs. And so what I find is really valuable on this course is we look at it through a lens that's going to be as helpful to as many people as possible. And that's what I think is a really valuable part of this Just Breathe training. So Dan, when we look at that, when we look at breathwork and meditation, and we look at the elements of these integration methods, I mean, what are some of your favorite things about the course? You've obviously been a mentor in the course since the beginning. You've seen it come to life, and you've spent your time over the past few years working with hundreds of teachers from all around the world. What are the things that have come up in the mentor sessions or have come up through your time with students as far as highlights or things to kind of know on the way in, or just anything that you think would be helpful for anyone listening in right now about this course?
Yeah, absolutely. In short, the course is so holistically wonderful. Kind of going back over some of the things that I've just said, but because it touches on all three areas, it allows you to meet whoever it is that you're working with in such a competent and confident way to be able to adapt and meet the needs of the person that you're working with, or to meet yourself on any given day. Something that I always hear from the people that have done the course, not only is the depth of the content amazing, is that continuing to kind of build on what Michael said, is that we give you structure to work with for those of you that are still developing, trialed and tested protocols or practices that we know work. But not only do we essentially provide you with some recipes, but also we provide you with all of the ingredients. So across time in your development, you learn to create your own protocols. You pull things together in your own way. It's amazing in that it really gives you a sense of autonomy, ownership, and empowerment. I think one of the amazing things about Just Breathe that really sets it apart from a lot of other trainings that I've been involved with or that I hear about is this deep community element. Because the support from the very offset, not only from the teaching team, but also from all of the people in the training and the mini kind of family they create, is unmatched. And every single training I've been on, people are always so surprised with how close they immediately feel with their colleagues, for lack of a better word here, and how that continues beyond the end of a training, and how they then integrate into the wider Just Breathe family.
And I can't echo that sentiment enough. And while this course, for many people, the focus is learning and education, it's developing the ability to share these practices and stepping into the seat to teach these. The benefit and the bonus that comes from this Just Breathe course is the community aspect of it, the ability to lean into those connections that you make in real life or online, the support that you have from the mentors, the support and connections that we have, you and I, in conversation. And through that process, it becomes more than just a learning experience, but an experience to really develop a way in which these practices are both shared and lived in real time and then taken out into the world. The other thing that I find comes up a lot in the course, which I want to share with you now, is the format of actually how the course itself works. Now, the course itself is designed in a way that supports your lifestyle. And when I say your lifestyle, you meaning anyone, because all of us have different ways our life unfolds. We have different responsibilities, different obligations, different jobs, and different ways in which our time can be used. And so the first part of the course is the 12 modules online on the learning platform, which means there's 12 modules that you make your way through, 4 for breathwork fundamentals, 4 for meditation modalities, and 4 for integration techniques and protocols and methods. Now, what's great about within each one, there's lots of different topics that we cover, and within those topics are lots of short videos or short to medium-sized videos that you can watch in bite-sized digestion. That can be anything from a 2-minute video to a 10-minute video. And each of the modules will have a daily practice. There'll be content to watch through. There'll be practices to do. And there'll also be, at the end of every module to support you, a quiz and case studies where we're going to ask you to bring these certain practices to life in a way that starts to allow you to share. Because the moment you start sharing a technique or sharing a practice is the moment it starts to make sense for you. One of the questions that does come back often is how much support is there in real life, in real time? So actually, Dan, you can answer this one. Obviously, we have a whole curriculum through the 12 modules, and there is mentor support. So what does that typically mean in those first 12 modules to have mentor support?
Yeah, absolutely. So what that means is essentially throughout the duration of the course, you'll be in a WhatsApp group where whether it's myself or any of the wider team, will be there to support you and answer any of the questions that you have on a moment by moment or day by day basis. So anything that comes up within the content that you need clarification on, we're there to kind of send a message or a voice note back within a day or so that you get the information that you need, you get the clarification that you need. And sometimes it's just a little bit of championing or cheerleading or support, and we're there to do that as well. So throughout the course, I've had short calls with people if they just needed kind of any questions answering, they needed that additional hand-holding or support in that moment. We're there to give that to you.
And then the other thing that is often asked is, will I get feedback on my teaching? Will I get some insight that's helpful for me as I put sequences together or as I practice teach? The short answer is yes, because at the end of each section, there's a video submission process, which works towards your assessment criteria for certification, which means at the end of every section of the course, you'll submit a video assessment, which you'll get real feedback, helpful feedback from one of the course mentors to talk you through things that worked well, things you might not have considered, things you could try for next time. And that can be really helpful as a refinement process in bringing your skill set to life. Dan, do you want to add to that?
Yeah, absolutely. So as Michael shared, we will give you the feedback to help you learn, to help you grow, to help you develop. So in the last cohort, for instance, all of the submissions would come through. I would then watch or take part in the sessions that I was gifted. And then I would come back to each person and give them voice note feedback. So it's not just a quick bullet point list from me via text. I take the time to really enjoy the session that you give me, and then I come back to you with feedback that's going to help you learn and grow with nuance and with detail that's specific to you. So maybe you're wondering, kind of once you've gone through the 12 modules, you've handed in your assessments and so forth, what does this lead to? So Michael, it'd be great if you could just share a little bit about the certification process.
So the course itself is a certification process, which means that there is certain requirements that you need to fulfill to make your way through the course content to become a Just Breathe certified breathwork and meditation teacher. This is done for 2 reasons. One is to ensure that the length of the curriculum is completed, so all the topics that are covered can really be understood and then shared in a way that's both safe, supportive, and relevant to the real world. And so throughout the course, through the on-demand platform, you'll have all the videos that you'll have a requirement to watch, mark complete, and to make your way through that course. We typically do it in a week-to-week format where simply over 12 modules, there's a 12-week support process. Now, in some cases or in some environments, it might not be exactly 12 modules, 12 weeks. It might be a little longer or a little bit shorter. There are unique cases or situations where that happens. But generally, for most of the level 1 courses, that's going to be the workflow of it that gives you a little bit of pace, a certain amount of focus necessary, and the amount of motivation or enthusiasm to move down this path towards learning and teaching these practices. So at the end of each module, there's always going to be a quiz and a case study or two. And at the end of every section, there's going to be a video submission, one or a few, which you'll get that real-time feedback from one of the course mentors. As you come to the end of the course, you'll have your immersion, which you'll have in two choices. One is the online on-demand version, which just means simply you'll have more online content. Just think of that as a bonus module. The other option is you can come in studio to our 5-day immersion in room, where we're just bringing techniques back into play in real time together. That typically has a group size anywhere between 10 and 30 people, depending on this location we're in, the size of the group that's come together at that timeline. And of course, there's always going to be different considerations or unique group sizes depending on kind of where we are at that point. But generally, what's great about being in studio together is while we're reviewing curriculum, we also have time to have community interactions. Regardless of that, regardless of the format we're doing, there's 2 key assessments that will happen to complete and graduate you through this certification. One is being able to facilitate a group-guided session where you'll be guiding both breathwork and meditation based on you creating an intentional offering to a theoretical group of people. This could be a group of 5 people or 10 people or 100 people, but it's you coming with all of the elements ready and prepared to share. The second element is what we call a one-to-one need-based response assessment, where you'll be working in partnership with someone to create a need-based response. So think about it like a mock environment where you're working one-to-one, where you'll sit down with someone, whether it's online through Zoom or in person in the room, where essentially your participant, or let's call that the person you're working with, will have some sort of need that you need to respond to in the moment. That could be something like they're feeling a bit jet lagged, they're a bit wired and can't sleep, but they still have to get up tomorrow because they've got a big presentation at work. For example, that renders a need for you to respond both breath work and meditation wise, and that allows you to do our Just Breathe breath assessment and to create an ABC 1, 2, 3 breath work practice and a meditation that can support that. What's really important and distinct about these 2 assessments, one, you have all the cards in your hand and you can craft a practice that you believe is very intentional, very supportive, and brings to life the things you want to share and the things you want to say. The second one is very much about, can you respond to the need in the moment? And these 2 skill sets are really important and really necessary to work with these practices to meet people where they are. And especially for the wide, diverse environments that these days you find breathwork and meditation, sometimes you'll walk into a space room, be invited into a space where you have the opportunity to craft the intention to share a practice of your choice. And other times you're working in a way where you simply need to respond to what's in front of you. And so that's the pathway for completion of this level 1 training. And it's a great way to make sure that it makes sense to you and you feel both comfortable and capable to share these practices. Hopefully this video was helpful to give you a little bit of an overview and insight to what is going on behind the scenes of our Just Breathe Level 1 training. And I'm so excited that you are interested in joining us, or you're planning on joining us, and get a chance to work with myself, Dan, and our wonderful group of mentors as you make your way through the Just Breathe training. And I'm even more excited for you to spend some time for yourself in practice, and as a bonus to have a time to connect to our wider Just Breathe community and build those bonds for yourself that really show the value of making these practices everyday practices for your mind and mental health.